All right, before we get back into customizing the website part of it, let's finish up with our last talk about blogs. There's a good possibility that in this class you're going to have to turn in a blog project or at least a blog assignment where everything needs to be, kind of perfect about the blog, where it really looks like you know what you're doing. And one of the things that's essential for that is categorizing your blog posts, because the idea is once you become a major blogger, people are going to want to look up old blogs that you've blogged about, and most bloggers will break their blogs down into categories for just that reason. If 3 years later someone wants to look up everything you've blogged, let's say you're a graphic design blogger and everyone wants to look up or anyone wants to look up a blog that you did about typography, then hopefully you're using categories. So let's look at how you do those. So you're going to be into the dashboard of your site, and you are going to be under posts. So we'll just click that to open up posts a little bit more, and you can see that there is this option here called categories. And actually, before we do that, let me just show you what it looks like if you don't categorize. You will get this uncategorized next to your posts on any theme that supports categories. Most of them support categories. They don't all show what category something's from until somebody uses the feature to look it up. But anyway, uncategorized is about as unprofessional as an untitled page in a website. So it's very easy to fix. Just go in here, click on categories, and you start adding categories. So I may as well use something that kind of fits what my site is. So I'll have general testing, and I'll go ahead and add that as a category. And then I'll have my specific image testing as another category, and I'll add that. And each time I click to add this, you can see that it adds a new category over here. And if you really become a pro at this, you can select parent categories where you have like a hierarchy to your categories, but this is pretty good for most people. And now we're just going to go back to posts in general here, go into all posts, which is the default for that, and you can see under categories we have, or I have, 4 uncategorized posts. So I will fix that right now by editing each one of these. And you can either go into edit, or in most cases you can go into quick edit, which keeps you right on this same page, and then you can look for, okay, here's your categories. So definitely uncheck uncategorized, and then give the one that applies, click update, go through and do the same to every page. So this one had to do with images, so I'm going to go to quick edit here, change this uncheck uncategory, go to image testing, update, and then let's say that I had one that was more than one thing. We can do that. So let's say I have this test blog that was a general test and an image test, so I can go into quick edit, and I can check this and uncheck this one. And keep in mind, you can have a whole bunch of categories. Click update, and now both of those will be applied to it. Now, you won't be required to do this for your class, but I want to give you an idea where this can be really powerful. If you add a widget to your blog where people can look up your blogs, that's one of the things they can do is look for categories. So just keep that in mind if you ever want to become a power blogger. To give you an example how easy this is, I went into pages, and I'm just going to edit my blog page. First thing, I'm going to get rid of this image that has nothing to do with anything by selecting that. Then I'll go under the word blog, hit return, hit the plus tab here, and I'm going to scroll down, look for widgets, and I'm going to find one that says something to do with searching the blog, or there might even be one here that is specifically for, let me just pause. Yep, I went right past it. One called categories. Click on that to add it, and then we'll go ahead and click update over here. Make sure that that gets updated to the page. Then we'll go into our actual page, refresh, go to our blog, which I think we were on, which this theme is awful right now for what we're doing because everything is below the fold. But there, so now if we click on general testing, blog, the posts will come up that fall under that category. And if we go back and we click on image testing, the ones that are particular to image testing come up. So you can see how that could be powerful if you're a blog king or queen. The thing you need to remember on that topic is as you create future posts, you just want to make sure that you give them a category. So when you're into this page here where you are making your post, just remember after you publish that thing to add a category to it. Kind of odd that this theme doesn't let you change it right from where you make the post, but we would just have to remember to go back into the dashboard. I changed it to admin up here again. Go back into our posts in general, go to all of them now, look for the one that is uncategorized, and go ahead and change that by going into the quick edit. Now there is actually one more thing that we'll talk about, so let me just fix that real quick here. General editing, update. One thing that you can do so that you never end up with an uncategorized one is there is a way to change a default category, but that's really not much better than uncategorized if you get it wrong. But to do that, you just go under this general tab near the bottom, you go to writing, and then you'll see default post category, and then you could put something, you know, like just general testing. But again, you're better off just to make sure, give yourself a checklist, make sure you do everything right so that if you are a pro blogger, people can rely on being able to find your archived things. Alright, at the end of the last video, I told you that I would show you a way to make your own test images. So let's look at that. Right now you can see if you liked this theme, it's a little awkward in that this image that's only 520 points pushes this way down. So first thing I would do is go into the dashboard here, go under Customize, under Appearance here, right under Themes, and see what it says on Site Identity. It says site icon should be at least 512 by 512. So let's just make our own that's exactly 512. So we're going to fire up Photoshop to do this. And if you have a background color and you want to be able to see that color through, you probably want your logo to be transparent. But before you delve in and put too much work into this, let's just try some experiments here. And like I said, Photoshop is a good place to do that. So we're going to go File, New. We're going to make this exactly 512 by 512 since that's what they said. And first we're going to try it at 72 pixels per inch, and then we'll change that and see if that makes a difference. Color mode we do on RGB, and then we're going to go background, and we're going to change that to transparent. And then we will click create. And then we're just going to, like I said, just try a test in here. So I'll just grab the brush tool over here, double click on the fill or the color picker, pick a color, and then we'll just I don't think I have the right brush tool. No, I have the history brush. There is the brush that I want. Where are you? I'll hit the B key. Find out. Oh, there it is, just right up there. Okay. So we're going to make this a little bigger. And we'll just put a little X through that just so we're starting to get the idea of what that'll take up. And we'll pretend this is text underneath that. And then we'll just go File, Save As. And we want to save this as a PNG file because JPEGs, the regular format, does not support transparency. And then we just want to give this a name that makes sense, like test logo. And remember where you save this to. Back in the customizing options, since I already had a test logo in there, I could remove it first. In this case, it has a button that I can just change it. Now I'm going to have to go to File, Uploads, find that file. Okay, automatically added it into our library. We click Select. And we'll skip cropping, go in, save our changes, check our site. That's basically the same issue we had before. It just pushes everything way down too far. So let's try again with a high resolution image, and I'll see if that works. Basically the same image, and this time made it 300 pixels per inch, which in theory should make it smaller, you know, if printed, but on the web it did exactly what I thought it would do, and at least in here. So that didn't help. So then I tried our 200 pixel by 200 pixel image of the test, and that was a better size. So let's try one more test here at about 100 pixels by 100 pixels and see if that works. Gets us closer, and then we know that we can go in and then make a logo from scratch, a good one. Okay, so this one I'm just going to make 100 pixels by 100 pixels. Not worry about the resolution, just keep it at 72. And double click on the hand, bring it in, and we'll just do another little test here with the brush tool. Save it out as a PNG, same thing we did before. That seems more like it. Our experimenting paid off. I'm not sure why they say to put such a big image in there. Now you're probably thinking, well, why did we do that in Photoshop? We did it in Photoshop just for the ease, just so we could get the transparent background on there right away. In fact, let me change the background color so you can see that this is truly transparent. Okay, so you see when I change this, the color through the logo changes as well. Whereas if you created this as a JPEG, you'd have a white box around here that represents the size of the logo. So now we'll go to more traditional. Let's say you had a logo already. We'll just make up an Illustrator document that you can either create a logo from scratch in, or you could copy and paste your logo into it. Now keep in mind, this isn't a mandatory thing that you have to do, but if you want to get your logo in here, I'm trying to show you different ways of doing this, or for a client in the future, but we're just going to go into Illustrator, File, New, and in this case we're going to make sure that we set up the document. We're going to change color mode to RGB, and then we're going to change inches to pixels, and then we're going to put in the size image that we want. And I'm going to say after a bunch of experimenting, I concluded that I want it to be no bigger than 90 pixels by 90 pixels. I'm going to click Create. I am going to get my stage here. And then if I already had a logo, and you're seeing 4 boxes here just because I had it set to 4 stages, but don't have to worry about that. I'll just pick the first one, zoom in here a little bit, and then if you had a logo, you could copy, paste it, resize it in here. I'll just make up something real quick here. Even something else that could come up, you could say, okay, well, I know this is 90 by 90, and I'm not worried about the width, it's more the height. So what happens if I make this a little bit bigger here? And now I just need to make it fit. You could go over here, click on the artboard tool, make the artboard a little bit bigger so that everything fits in there, and then you can make it shorter. So I'm just clicking on those little handles, and I don't want to crop anything off, but that'll work. It doesn't matter what as long as nothing gets cut off, it doesn't matter. I mean, this looks horrible as far as a presentation, but once it's on the web, it should be fine. Now what we're going to do is we're going to save this out as a PNG with the transparent background. So we'll go File, and we're going to go Export, Export As. And in here, we are going to make sure we check Use Artboards. And if we have more than one artboard, we want to make sure that we're using the appropriate artboard, which this will tell you down here. You know, whenever you're clicking on something, it'll automatically tell you which artboard. If you only have one, doesn't matter. You won't have this range option, but you still need to check Use Artboards. And then I'm going to uncheck this from range since I have multiple artboards. Select Artboard 1. And then we're going to go through the steps here. First, we're going to give it a name that we will remember, a place that we'll remember, and then when we get to the second artboard screen, that's where we want to make sure that we pick these options here. So we're going to go for screen 32 or 72 pixels per inch, and we want to make sure that background transparent is selected for this ping. We're going to go OK. And then we'll go ahead and see what that looks like. So we change out to this logo, click the changes, and then let's go ahead and preview this. And you can see that's quite a bit better. Probably could even go a little bit bigger because it's getting blown away by this. Although this might be where your text actually is that says the name of the company, and then you just play around until you get the logo to go right over the top of it.